Xankəndi şəhəri müsibətlər yaşayıb. 60-cı illərdə erməni ekstremistləri Qarabağda, Xankəndində Azərbaycanlıları nümayişkarcasına qətlə yetirmişdir. Və eyni zamanda 20-ci əsrin 80-90-cı illərində başlanan işğal Xankəndindən yan keçməmişdir. Erməni daşnaqları nə qədər çalışsalar da, Kommunist Partiyası adı altında Azərbaycana elədikləri zülmləri nə qədər tarixdən silməyə çalışsalar da, o alınmamışdır. Çünki canlı şahidlər bugün də var və bugün də onlar həmin hadisələri olduğu kimi xatırlayırlar. 20-ci əsr bir də onunla əlamətdardır ki, Azərbaycana hakimiyyətə ümummilli liderimiz Heydər Əliyev başçılıq etdi. Hakimiyyətə gələn gündən o Qarabağı, xüsusilə Xankəndinin sosial-iqtisadi inkişafını öz nəzarətinə götürdü. Bütün bu materiallar filmin ikinci hissəsində öz əksini tapmışdır.
After gaining independence on May the 28th, 1918, the process of changing the administrative territorial units started in the territories of the Republic of Azerbaijan. As a result, according to the decision of the National Council of the Republic of Azerbaijan dated January the 13th, 1919, Qarabağ General Governorate was established covering Cavanşir, Qaryagin, Şuşa and Zengezur counties of Yelizavetpol Governorate. Shortly after Azerbaijan People's Republic collapsed as a consequence of Soviet Russia's invasion, and on April 28, 1920, Azerbaijan became part of the USSR. After the establishment of Soviet governance in Azerbaijan, several other administrative changes happened in the territory of the country. The issue of Nagorno-Karabakh was brought up in a situation when a very complicated situation and intense political contradictions existed in Azerbaijan. Most part of Armenians moved to the territory of Azerbaijan at different times, were living compactly in Karabakh together with Azerbaijanis. It is worth mentioning that Armenian worker communities in Karabakh strongly opposed to the division of Karabakh despite of Dashnak's provocative anti-Azerbaijan policy. But Armenian Dashnaks were eager to reach their dirty intentions by all means. In 1920, Dashnak squads under the commandment of General Dron destroyed and plundered 150 Muslim villages in Şuşa, Qaryagin, Cavanşir, Zengezur counties, as well as Xankəndi city, and shot civilians. But that time they failed to tear off Zengezur and Qarabağ from Azerbaijan and to combine them to Armenia. On July the 10th, 1920, Nerman Nermanov, chairman of Azerbaijan Revolution Committee, sent a request to Russia. Qarabağ and Zengezur should be acceded to Azerbaijan. Some days later, in order to combine Qarabağ to Armenia, Armenians organized contract rebellion of Dashnaks in Qarabağ, destroyed several villages and killed the civilians. On July the 20th, 1920, a group of Armenians made a decision of combining mountainous part of Qarabağ to Armenia, but as it didn't express the will of the majority, it was not accepted. As a result of behind-the-scenes political games conducted for 3 years, Armenians, although didn't achieve to tear off Qarabağ from Azerbaijan, but succeeded in obtaining the status of autonomous region for mountainous part of Qarabağ. On July the 7th, 1923, with the decree of Azerbaijan's Central Committee, Qarabağ General Governorate, as well as counties of Cavanşir and Şuşa were abolished. Middle and western part of the abolished counties were combined into Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region, with Xankəndi being the center. A new county of Ağdam was established on the east. Thus, by forming so-called border inside of the state of Azerbaijan, the ground for future disasters was founded. The government of Armenia, in order to strengthen its position in high-level government bodies of Nagorno-Karabakh, with a pretext of staff shortage, sent 6 manager-level persons to this region with a letter of pro-Armenian Kirov and Karakozov. This process continued during later periods too. After the formation of Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region on September the 18th, 1923, Azerbaijan's ancient settlement Xankendi's name was changed to Stepanakert, named after Stepan Shahumyan. After this, Armenian leaders of Nagorno-Karabakh placed a priority on socio-economic development of Xankendi. The number of Armenian population here was increased unnaturally. 398 Azerbaijanis lived in 85 households, 981 Armenians lived in 226 households in Xankendi. It should be emphasized that not only single Armenian lived in Xankendi in the beginning of the 19th century, the increasing number of Armenians in Xankendi continued during later periods. On November the 26th, 1924, the Statute on Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region was adopted. In the Statute on Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region was shown as part of Azerbaijan. With the incitement of Russia, Shusha, Xankendi, and 115 villages, 52 villages from Javanshir County, 3 villages from Garyagin, Galaderasi from Gubadli were joined to Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region. All of these were crimes against Azerbaijan nation and affected its future. It should be noted that this statute was prepared with the opinion of Armenian community of Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region and under Moscow's order. In 1920s, when the situation was not easy, while the contradictions were severe and dictatorship and terror was in power in Xankendi, the industry began to be restored. As a result of transition to new economic policy, in Xankendi forces in power made a good use of new policy of renting entities and rented out the entities that used to belong to Azerbaijanis to immigrated Armenians. During 1921 and 1925, the main industry in Xankendi focused on development of sericulture. Starting from that period, they started drawing power lines in Xankendi. Starting from 1924, the government of Azerbaijan began paying special attention to alcohol wine production in Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region. Several wineries started to function. 80% of more than 200,000 rubles that were allocated by the government of Azerbaijan to restoration and development of the industry of Nagorno-Karabakh was directed to Xankendi, and only 5% of those resources was assigned to Shusha. During these years, Shusha-Yevlak and Xankendi-Ganja roads were put to operation. Xambulagı, Xankendi, Malibeyli, Galaderasi bridges were constructed. But it should be noted that Armenians relying on high authorities rented entities and illegally became the owners of those entities and treated Azerbaijanis working there not nicely. Fraudulent Armenians benefiting from new economic opportunities in Xankendi city took over big associations, trusts with fraud and made fortune. The Soviet Russia's economic and political policy carried out in Xankendi during those years had the main goal of suppressing sense of national identity of Azerbaijanis, strengthen their support in that area. Thanks to Armenians, and take use of natural resources of Azerbaijan, complying with demands of new regime by perpetuating the colonial regime. In later years, wineries had the leading role in Xankendi's industry. Sericulture was developing, new wood processing plants were opened in Agdere, Eskeran and Xankendi. A school building, bridge, 100-bed hospital was built in Xankendi. 33 buildings were constructed, 52 were restored, road of 174 kilometers length was constructed. Unemployment was terminated then. Xankendi developed from being backward agrarian region to agrarian industrial province. The number of workers increased 5 times. In 1929, silk spinning and carpet factories began to operate in Xankendi. The products of Karabakh silk plant situated in Xankəndi were exported to foreign countries. The carpets that were produced here were famous in the world for their original and beautiful drawings, high quality and exceptional durability. Karabakh carpets started to be exported to England, Italy, Sweden, Denmark, Iran and Egypt. On August 8, 1930, with the decision of Central Committee of Azerbaijan SSR, Communist Party, Hadrut, Mardakert, Stepanakert and Shusha regions were formed, and the city of Stepanakert considered the center of the autonomous region. Armenians from different regions were moved to Nagorno-Karabakh, including Xankəndi, and were provided with workplaces in industrial entities. Thus, Soviet Empire, in order to strengthen its economic foundation, turned Azerbaijan into a raw materials source and sped up the plunder of above-ground and underground resources. In 1920-1930s, strong industrial base was created in Xankəndi city. Great Patriotic War ended with USSR's victory. People of Azerbaijan, including population of Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region, served to their best for gaining the victory. As all of Azerbaijani cities, population of Xankəndi actively participated in this war till the last victory. On June the 22nd, 1941, Xankəndi citizens organized a rally condemning Hitler Germany's aggression against the USSR. Hundreds of inhabitants volunteered to go to the front by applying to military commissariat. During the war, military hospital was created in Xankəndi. The population of Xankəndi transferred money to war fund and took under patronage the people of the areas in war. Xankəndi inhabitants showed courage at back front as well as in battlefields. However, war caused much harm to the whole Azerbaijan, including its inalienable part Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region's economy. In 1940, the population of Azerbaijan was more than 3,300,000, and 151,000 of it was the population of the autonomous region. As skillful and strong workers and servants from Nagorno-Karabakh was mobilized to battlefield, population decreased up to 15%. After the war ended, important arrangements were made to restore and develop the industry in all the cities and regions of Azerbaijan, including in Xankəndi. Towards the end of 1945, 70% of the budget in the amount of 41 million manats allocated to the region for developing the economy was directed to Xankəndi city. Different industrial entities in Xankəndi were restored with the facilities brought from Baku in 1946. At the same time, during 1946 and 1950 years, in Shusha, which had been center of Karabakh for many years, and then the center of Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region, not a single entity was opened. Newly formed industrial fields in Xankəndi, Hadrut, Khojavand, Agdara, Askeran were created mainly in the places where Armenians were settled.
Bir Müslüman şeflerine dəyə bilməzdi. Ağız güdürdülər. O sözü işlərsən o söz səni sürürdülər. Dahi ay böyle. Ermənilərlə Müslümanlar danışmaq olmaz. Elə möhkəm iş gedirdi. Orada belə nətər belə biz yaşayırıq, onlar hələ bizdən yaxşı yaxındır. Səni süpürən Müslümanıdır. Sırfamın üstündə oturub hər Noruz bayramı. Halallıq verin də sizlə bizimki qutardı. Yeməklə işləyirmişlər, biz də yatmışıq.
Armenian nationalists that created separate legion in occupier army of Hitler's Germany wanted to realize the illusion of Great Armenia in South Caucasus by using fascism methods and ideology of killing civilians. But their plan broke because of the victory over fascism. Then they started to blow up the idea of tearing off Karabakh from Azerbaijan and combine it to Armenia. In November of 1945, the Secretary of Central Committee of Armenian Communist Party, Grigory Arutinov, sent the request to Joseph Stalin about including Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region of Azerbaijan SSR in Armenia SSR under the name of Karabakh Province. The Kremlin sent the text of the request to the first Secretary of the Central Committee of Azerbaijan Communist Party, Mirjafar Baghurov, asking him to express his opinion on the issue. Baghurov's answer to Armenians and the Kremlin didn't take long. In his reply, comprised of several pages, Mirjafar Baghurov brought strong counter-arguments. In 1923, the issue of including the mountainous part of Karabakh, where mainly Armenians settled to Armenia SSR, however, because Armenia SSR didn't have common borders with this area and the regions where only Azerbaijani lived. Kubadli, Lachen, Kalbajar and Dastafur were between Armenia and this territory based on the instructions of party bodies. Azerbaijan Central Executive Committee issued a decree on July 7, 1923, which established the Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region with Xankəndi, now called Stepanakert, being its center. Thus, Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region was never adjacent to Armenia SSR and remains as such at the moment. At the same time, we think it is important to mention that all Soviet Union Communist Party, that while considering the issue of including NKAR to Armenia SSR, inclusion of Azizbayev, Vedi and Karabakh regions, the regions of Armenia SSR that are adjacent to Azerbaijan Republic and are settled mainly by Azerbaijanis to the territories of Azerbaijan SSR should also be considered, taking into account culturally and economically backward situation of these regions. Giving these regions to Azerbaijan would create the opportunity to improve the material conditions of population and cultural and political service issues. Only this grounded position restrained Moscow from putting pressure to Azerbaijan. However, Armenian leadership didn't give up their goal and achieved massive deportation of Azerbaijani people from their ancestral lands in Armenia SSR in 1948 and 1943. During 50 and 60 years of the 20th century, light and food industries, sericulture, winery, wood processing, furniture, milk processing entities, electrical engineering, construction materials and manufacturers, musical instruments factory, and other entities operated. In comparison to 1923, in 1960, the industry of Xankəndi increased to 135%. During that period, majority of produced industry goods were transported to Russia and Armenia. In the 60s of the 20th century, Armenians artificially settled in Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region lived well, benefiting from the socio-economic privileges provided by Soviet Empire. But they never gave up their idea and efforts of tearing off Karabakh from Azerbaijan and combine it to Armenia. One of these efforts happened in 1967. In 1965, a group of Armenians collected signatures for separating Nagorno-Karabakh from Azerbaijan and included to Armenia and sent a request to Moscow. Although Moscow rejects the claim, Armenians didn't change their mind. 2 years later, in 1967, in the village of Kuropatkin of the Khojavand region, Martuni then, the corpse of the 10-year-old Armenian kid Nelson Movsesyan was found. Armenians blamed 3 Azerbaijanis in this crime. the director of the school and teacher Ershad Mehmedov, his brother-in-law Zohrab Mehmedov, and the guard Alamshad Mehmedov. The investigators of Armenian origin who handled the criminal case found these three Azerbaijanis guilty in killing the 10-year-old child. But the main question was never answered. What was the motive of this crime? On July 3rd, 1967, hundreds of Armenians who came from Armenia and different villages of Nagorno-Karabakh to court case in Xankəndi city demanded that three Azerbaijanis should be shot. But the court ruled differently. Alamshad Mehmedov was sentenced to shooting, Ershad Mehmedov to 15 years of imprisonment, and Zohrab Mehmedov was released. This sentence didn't please the Armenian church. Wild Armenians grabbed Ershad and Alamshad from convoy and wounded Zohrab hidden in the car for the sentenced. But no one and nothing could